Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Earrings Off. We want to invite you to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. You can find us on Facebook at Earrings Off Podcast and on Instagram at The Earrings Off Podcast.
Welcome to Earrings Off. I'm Lou.
And I'm Teresa. Let's get started.
Well, hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. I tell you, it has been a week in the news with so much going on, you know?
Lou,
Yeah.
it's definitely a time to make sure that yourselves, and your families, individuals and your families are taken care of
Very true.
mentally. I
Yeah.
think we need to know what's going on, but we also need to unplug. And
Yeah.
I'm speaking from personal experience because you've heard me say this before, back in during the elections before the presidential election, how I had gone too deep. And I was spending way too much time reading news and looking at
Yeah.
it to the point where it was causing me fatigue. And
Yeah.
I stepped away, and now I'm right back in it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just too much, Lou. It's
Well,
just too much.
it is. And I tell you, I too have just felt what everybody else has felt this week with so much coming at us. But last night I went to the symphony, and
Hmm.
I haven't been in a while, and got the tickets a while ago. And so even though the world felt heavy, I just thought, okay, we're going to go on to this performance. And I am telling you, for me personally, it was just what the doctor ordered.
I believe that.
The conductor, you know, usually they keep their comments to the piece that they're performing, but he started out by talking about how now more than ever we need to experience joy, and we need to participate in activities and events that connect us as a people, and how we individually need to push back against negative, information, and so that we aren't overwhelmed. And he started by saying, and music is a way to do that. Music bridges that gap. And music can serve as a way to connect us. And I am telling you, it was like his words were salve or medicine for my soul, because I felt that. And when he said it, and I just sort of settled in and listened to the music. And so I just, I felt better, a bit lighter after having, attended. So, yeah. And I met this lady at the symphony who was seated right behind me. And before it began, she said, do you go to a lot of performances? And I said, well, actually, I just moved here. I said, and when in Virginia, I had a symphony buddy, and I no longer have her. I said, but I like to come and listen to the music. She said, so she and I were chatting, and when it was over, she said, well, I hope to see you again. Maybe we'll become symphony buddies. I said, maybe so. So she and I chuckled about that. So it was
Oh,
just
Lou, you got a new friend.
I
That's
don't
so.
have a new friend, but I have someone that appreciates performances. So that was good. But listen, today, Teresa, we're going to be diving into a topic that you might have heard whispers about, but it's becoming more and more common. Tell me, Teresa, have you heard about something called gray divorce?
Well, Lou, I haven't heard that term, but I know exactly what it means.
Okay.
You know,
Well, wait
so
a minute. But
Yeah.
for our audience, in case they don't know, in case they're
Mhm.
wondering, what in the world is that? Gray divorce refers to divorce among older adults, typically people over 50 years old. And here's the surprising part. While overall divorce rates in the US have been steadily declining, the divorce rate for folks over 50 has actually doubled since the 1990s. For people over 65, it's even tripled. Can you believe that?
Lou, I cannot. It's crazy. And it's like, what are you thinking? But many of these couples, they're not newlyweds. They've been married for 20, 30, even 40 years.
Oh my goodness, that long and
It,
getting divorced.
yes, the average marriage ending in gray divorce has lasted about 27 years. So it's long-term relationships unraveling, not just the short flings.
Wow. And Teresa, in terms of why is this happening, there are a few reasons. First of which is longevity. People are living longer and healthier lives. With more years ahead, some folks start asking themselves, do I really want to spend the next 20 or 30 years in this relationship? Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, another factor is the changing social norms.
Hmm.
Divorce just doesn't carry the same stigma it once did.
Yeah, yeah.
Women, especially, may feel more empowered now to leave relationships that aren't fulfilling.
I think that's a big part of it. It's just like you're saying, the stigma is no longer attached to it like it previously was. And but Teresa, retirement plays a role too. When one or both spouses leave the workforce, suddenly they're together all the time. That can either strengthen a bond or highlight cracks that were easier to ignore when life was busier. And I tell you, just this week, when I was out at the gym, this lady, we were chatting, and a lady that I see, a few times, so we know each other, she said that since they've retired, since her husband has retired, he's more wanted to take a more active role, not only in the finances, which she has handled pretty much for the whole duration of the marriage. She said like 40 years. She said that was one thing, him questioning her about why are you doing it this way, or was this paid? How, she said, and I've got my system that's been in place that's worked very well. She said, now that's one thing. But she said, but Lou, she said a few weeks ago, he was asking her something about laundry, like, why are you doing that? Don't the pods go in before you do it or something? And she said she looked at him like, wait a minute. I've been doing this for years. What are you talking about? So yeah, retirement does impact people. Yeah,
Yeah,
relationships.
yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I absolutely can see that. But of course, there's empty nesting, right?
Yeah.
So once the kids are grown and gone,
Yeah.
some couples realize the only glue that was holding them together was parenting.
Teresa is so true because we can be so busy in that parenting role.
Yeah.
And you're so concentrated on all those responsibilities, and when they're no longer there or not no longer as intense, yeah, that starts to shed a light on what's left, you know.
Yeah, I know, but it seems like, that would be uh a fun time, a time to just engage in doing, things together.
Yeah.
Like I've been married for a very, very long time.
Uh-huh.
We've both been married for a long time. And lately, we've been a little adventurous in
Yeah.
doing some things. And
Yeah.
it's been kind of fun to think about, what are we going to do next? You
Right.
know? And
Yeah.
so maybe that's an approach that people should take
Yeah. Yeah.
with this one. But I can certainly see, especially with the example that you just shared about the interference and how she ran the household. Like,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
come on, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that would annoy me too. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
But, and Teresa, another thing that's very real that's impacting this, that's as a impact of the Great Divorce, the financial consequences of Great Divorce can be brutal.
How so?
Brutal. Research shows that household wealth drops by about 50% after a divorce. And unlike
Oh,
younger couples, older adults don't have decades to rebuild savings because, as I mentioned, some of them even are retired. So you no longer have that ability to generate that additional income, from promotions or whatever it might be, or getting a new position with extra money. And I often think about that because my husband, truth be told, is a finance person, and that was one of his undergrad majors, and he thinks about finances. And when we talk about that, he is like, you know what? No, we can't struggle. We cannot make decisions which cause us to struggle.
so
We're not really trying to go down that path. So I don't know if I hear a lot of love as much as you're not gonna really have me struggling at this point. So whatever we got going on, we better figure a way to work it out because nobody going down that road. I'm serious. That's
it's
what I don't hear the love coming out as much as you. I stop tripping. I'm not gonna really be impacting my finances like that.
so you're saying they were on to something with that cheaper to keeper.
Yeah, Teresa, that's pretty much it.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, truth be told, that's why I'm hanging in there. Yeah,
It's real.
that's the thing when when you think about that, you got
Yeah.
to split flip 50-50 and there's no more income coming in.
Right,
And
right.
you got to
That's
build a whole new household and a lifestyle somewhere else.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's something to
Yeah.
think about.
But then, Teresa, it goes back to the earlier point that we spoke about. But then, when you're looking at the longevity and people are living longer, people begin to weigh. Yeah, I know what you're saying about my finances, and life may be more difficult, and maybe it won't look like I thought it would look, but I'm not trying to live like this for the
Yeah,
next 10, 20, 30 years. I
right.
just can't do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you have to think about your mental health as well,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and it especially hits women hard. Women over 50 see their standard of living drop by 45% after divorce, compared to about
Mm.
21% for men. That's almost double the impact.
I mean, like, I'm telling you.
Over a lifetime, women still earn less, about
Mm.
82 cents to a man's dollar.
Wow. Yeah.
So why is that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Many step out of the
Patriarchal
workforce.
system.
Many many women step out of the workforce to raise kids or care for family, which means less saved for retirement and lower Social Security benefits. Add to that the rising healthcare and housing costs, and the financial strain is really real.
Yeah.
So I have a quick story. I get my news from YouTube.
I know. Yeah. I get mine from TikTok, but anyway. Yeah.
And so I was listening to a YouTube clip where, well, what caught my eye was this exact story. A woman in her, close to her retirement age, having to start over.
Yeah.
And she was seeking advice from this financial counselor. And so I clicked on the link, and basically this woman was taken by surprise. She'd been married for 40 years. Just they were recent empty nesters, and her husband came home and said to her, "I want a divorce."
Mm-hmm.
He was an executive, so he gave her the house. He gave her, she, in the divorce, she got the house, she kept, was able to keep her car, but
Mm.
the income that he was giving her, she couldn't even afford the house.
Yeah.
She couldn't
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
afford the car payment
Yeah.
on the car. So what she did was went into survival mode. She sold the house
Yeah.
and she sold the car. No, she did something that I never heard of before. She refinanced her car.
Hmm.
Have you heard of that?
Teresa, are you telling me you never heard of refinancing a car?
A
You know
car?
what? Yes, Teresa. Really? Okay.
I've never heard of anybody refinancing a car.
Okay. Well, I'm from the poor section of South Carolina. Yeah, I've heard of it.
I've never heard of that. But anyway, she refinanced the car, sold the house, moved into an apartment, and she started a small business. So this guy giving her advice was amazed at the steps
Mhm.
that she'd
Mhm.
taken, not having had to exercise those muscles before,
Yeah.
because she was taken care of. She was
Right.
a
Right.
stay-at-home mom.
Right.
And he said, "Oh, you're in good shape. You're doing the you're on a path. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
That you're going to be fine," because she'd also done some investing. So in this woman's case, she'd never worked, but she'd figured out how to
Yeah.
survive. But what she didn't like was the fact that she was having to live in an apartment. So she was looking for a smaller house that she could purchase,
But
um, so that she wouldn't have to remain in the apartment.
but Teresa, what I like about what you just shared, though, you and I have talked many times on this show about how when things happen in life, we have to be able to pivot.
Pivot.
We have to be able to place ourselves in situations that maybe we weren't as comfortable, that make us uncomfortable, but after doing some type of assessment or analysis, we know that that's the decision that has to be made. And I love that she was able to say, you know what can I do so that I can survive this? And many times that's what keeps us blocked, or that's what makes it even more challenging. We are unable to pivot. We are unable to make changes that need to be made for our survival. So kudos to her. But Teresa, while women may fare, we may be in a worse position financially because of this patriarchal system that we find ourselves in, always earning less and having so many other responsibilities that our income is compromised. But while men may do better socially and emotionally, they take a harder hit
Mm,
after these divorces because many men rely heavily on their wives for emotional support and social connections. After divorce, these ties they often disappear. So the research indicates that divorced men are at a greater risk of depression, loneliness, and even health problems like heart disease. Because, Teresa, you and I did a show, I think it was this year, encouraging men to continue to build relationships,
hmm.
their own relationships, independent from their spouses or partners, so that they have their own identity. And of course, you have that set in place. So, should you be in a position where you need your own support, such as after a divorce, you have those established relationships. But again, in terms of gray divorce, the women may suffer financially or take a bigger hit, but the men take a bigger hit socially and emotionally. It is a very hard time for them. Yeah.
Good for them. They should try to figure it out.
Okay, we're not gonna have the hate against men on the
No,
show.
no,
I'm just saying.
no. I'm just kidding. So yeah, so it flips, right?
Yeah.
So women they fare worse financially, but often have the stronger social networks to lean on. And men, they keep more of the money, but often end up lonelier. What about
Wow.
that? I mean,
Yeah,
look at
yeah,
that.
yeah. And Teresa, the issue that you referenced earlier, the housing, you know, for most couples, the family home is the biggest shared asset.
Mm-hmm.
So after divorce, you have to make a decision about who stays and who leaves, and those are tough decisions. Although I have heard of some cases recently where people decide to stay in the home. They're able to
Together?
work, yeah, they're able to work through it in terms of the boundaries, and because for whatever reason they have made the assessment that they're not going to be able to sell that home, or have two independent residences. So I've also heard of that happening.
Have- Did you ever see that movie, War of the Roses?
Yeah, 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 I did.
That's
I
what
did.
just came to
Yeah,
mind when you
yeah,
said that.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
if that's a good thing.
yeah,
Um, so some women especially feel the pressure to hold on to that home for stability,
yeah, yeah,
the family home. But here's the danger. Keeping a house on a single income can make you house rich but cash poor. And I think that's what the lady was
yeah,
thinking of, right?
yeah,
Studies show older divorced adults are twice as likely to move into rental housing within 4 years of divorce. Downsizing or relocating can be financially smart, but it's also emotionally hard after decades in one place.
yeah, yeah. And you know what? Just as divorce no longer carries that stigma, many times older adults sort of had a stigma about being a certain age and renting. And so we
Hmm.
have to move beyond that too,
Hmm.
that we don't think that somehow indicates a failure on our part because we're renting. And when we decided to downsize, Nasheed and I actually looked at renting because we started thinking, okay, do we want to be responsible for another property? And of
Hmm.
course, at the end of the day, we made the decision that it was probably our best decision to go on and uh, and to buy. But more and more people are renting now, not just as a transition, but they're deciding that this fits my income, and I no longer want to deal with I don't want to deal with property insurance. I don't want to deal with taxes, all of that. And they're finding that in some cases, renting may be a viable option, you
Well,
know?
yeah, when you say that, I mean, if you're talking about um, people who have reached a certain level in terms of finances, rent is really not an option. I mean, it's going to hurt you more, right? Wouldn't you think? If you downsize, I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, but
I'm thinking about capital gains.
right, right. Yeah, you're right. But Teresa, the other thing though, if we think about it, okay, we talked about people retiring. They're on a specific income. They're not earning, additional income or getting promotion or getting new jobs. There's not a influx of new money coming in. So, okay, if you've been impacted, then a lot of times people simply don't have the money or the credit score. A lot of different factors have impacted their ability to maybe jump right into another property
Yeah.
right then.
Okay.
So you're
Hmm.
sort of weighing all of that, because even if okay, you've gotten some money from a property, you have an asset, but if you can't show that you're going to be able to make that mortgage,
Oh,
so
yeah.
they're looking
Yeah.
at all of that, and that's
Yeah.
why it's impacting women more than the men in most cases. But in addition to the finances and the social and emotional impact, of course, Teresa, there's a health impact.
Yes.
Divorce
Yes.
later in life is linked to higher risk of depression, anxiety, sleep problems, and even chronic illnesses like heart disease.
And for men, the risk is especially sharp, Lou. Divorced men over 50 have a higher mortality rate.
Hmm.
So that's partly because wives often take the lead in managing doctor's appointments,
Yeah.
healthy meals, and those social connections, which we know now are quite important. Without that support, men can slip into isolation. So I have a story there. My
Uh-huh.
own brother, right?
Mhm.
Um, this truly was the case for him. His person took care of all of that. She
Yeah.
did all the shopping. She did all the medical appointments. She just took care of him. And basically, he needed to just work, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
once they separated, he didn't do any of those things for himself. And he found himself in a bad place many
Yeah.
years later
Yeah.
because he was not taking care of those, he wasn't going for those routine
Yeah.
checkups. And it really does make a difference
Yeah.
if you have someone that that depends on another individual in that relationship to keep you up to date with all of those and
Yeah.
with managing those doctor's appointments.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
I tell you, and Teresa, for women, the stress comes from the sudden financial strain. You
Hmm.
know, they've not been in that position before, and
Hmm.
money worries can worsen blood pressure, trigger anxiety, or lead to stress related health issues. Money worries, I'm going to tell you, they will take you down. Not, they will take not only your relationship down faster than anything else, they'll take your health down, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Bottom line, divorce isn't just about dividing assets. It's about protecting your well being for the long haul.
So, if you're considering divorce later in life, here are a few ways to maybe soften the blow. Know your finances. Don't rely on your spouse to manage everything. And listen, if you're thinking about divorce, you want to be able, you make sure you're up on those finances, because many times if folks know something's going on or a divorce may be on the horizon, folks can start doing funny things with finances. Not only
Hmm.
hiding finances, taking some things. So you make sure you're staying on top of them, because sometimes love people can get vindictive, but I digress. But you get my point. Know your finances. Stay on top of them. Be strategic about the house. Keeping it may not always be the best move. Be open to what's going to work best for you.
This is a big one, though. Health insurance. You got to know what's going on with that.
Mm-hmm.
Think about health insurance.
Yeah.
Divorce can dramatically change your coverage.
Yeah. And Teresa, I've heard of a case of that, where there was a divorce. And, that's one of the big things was females losing their health coverage
Hmm.
because they've
Hmm.
been under their husband's plan. So
Hmm.
I had a former colleague who went through that. And that was quite a blow. Yeah.
Hmm. Work with a financial advisor. Financial advisors, they understand the unique challenges of gray divorce, and they can advise you best how to approach it.
Yeah.
Of course, that kind of sounds like we're advocating for it. We're not. We're just
We're not.
stating, yeah, no, we're not.
We're not, but the reality is it
It's
happens.
happened.
And if
Yeah.
it happens, this show has always been about trying to provide you with some solid information so that you make the best choices that work for you.
And, more so for the men than the women, you got to build a support system, and some women too, right?
Yeah.
But whether through friends, therapy, or community, you're going to need some emotional backup.
Yes. Now more than ever. Yeah.
And don't rush. Before making the decision, explore counseling, mediation, or even individual therapy. Sometimes working on the relationship or just working on yourself can bring clarity about the next step.
And I want to go back to Teresa, your earlier point about build a support system, and make sure when you're listening to your support system that you have people who have your best interests at heart,
Mm,
who really want you to survive and thrive through this. So be careful with the information that you share. Be careful with who you allow into your circle as you navigate these waters, because gray
Mhm.
divorce is on the rise and is shaping what later life looks like for many Americans. But with proper preparation, both financial and emotional, you can move forward with confidence.
Yes, you can. That's it for today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to Earrings Off. We're on Apple, of course, Spotify, Amazon, just wherever you listen to podcasts.
And share this with someone who might need to hear it. Again, Teresa and I would never advocate for divorce. But if you know somebody who could use this information, don't hesitate to share it.
Take care of yourselves and each other.